one has, the loved one hasn't moved on yet, and maybe is trying to say goodbye, and sometimes people will see a loved one. That's another reason why you may or may not want to participate in a seance. Some people have been very frightened by what they've seen, and perhaps didn't want to see it. And occasionally, and this is very, like I've done about 200 of them, and I think only 2 or 3 times, well, one time there was about 6 people that collapsed during it. But, you know, that's kind of rare, you know, so you probably don't have anything to worry about. You may get a headache during a seance, and if it gets real bad, you know, just ask to leave and we'll get you out of there. You get the headache because the people that drowned in the swimming pool had head trauma first, and then their lungs filled up with water and they drowned and died. You'll emulate that headache. Upstairs, you can get a headache and get dizzy because the woman that committed suicide up there did it with an overdose of sleeping pills. And you can get dizzy in there. I probably shouldn't have even told you that because I'd rather have you experience and then I tell you why you experienced that. Okay, we're going to go into the tunnel right now. Did anybody get any blue orbs?
No.
Okay, we did get 1 blue orb in the tunnel. So we'll see what you guys get. Let's go into the tunnel now. Steve will lead the way. You'll file in there on both sides of the tunnel.
You wanted to be first. You wanted to be first. Mm-hmm.
You're not the only one in there, I just have to go. What was in on there? So dark.
Were all wood. So they busted inside and they burnt it down, trying to get the Catholics to leave Alton. It didn't work. They had a priest called Michael Carroll, and he wasn't about to be run out of Alton by a hate group. So he bought some land on State Street. And some of you probably are from Alton and Godfrey, so you're probably going to be a little familiar with what I'm going to say. He bought some land and built a new church there, a Catholic church called St. Peter and Paul. And when he built that church, most of the Catholics moved to that area, to that hill. So many of them moved that it got the name Christian Hill. And it is still called Christian Hill today. And St. Peter and Paul's is still there. Father Carroll then sold this land and what was left of the stones to the Unitarians. And the Unitarians built a church. And when the Catholics found out Father Carroll did that, they weren't happy. They didn't want the Unitarians taking their original spot. So the Catholics started calling this area, Albee Street and 3rd Street, Heathen Hill, because they thought the Unitarians were heathens. And today, sometimes when you find an old-timer in Alton and you say Heathen Hill, they know exactly what you're talking about. And it wasn't because later on they built City Hall on Heathen Hill, which is where it is right now. Now, the Unitarian Church is haunted by Father Carroll. Father Carroll is seen in there with one of those skull caps that Catholic priests used to wear. Did you say something? Never mind. But get back back in the days, Catholic was their very first audience, and the theater held 1,000 people. Now it was vaudeville acts at that time. It was vaudeville. So the first show had some singers and dancers and jugglers, but their main attraction was a boxing kangaroo. And the boxing kangaroo fought 3 one-round fights against volunteers from Western military academies. Now that was a tremendous way to open a business. I mean, who wouldn't want to see that, I think? But eventually, talking movies, of course in the middle of the 1920s, took over, and this became the great place to watch a talking motion picture too. The best, actually the Marx Brothers played it. You probably heard of the Marx Brothers. Okay, there was also, but no one ever came. So he was stuck with the body, and he didn't want the expense of also burying him. So he put a diaper on him and hung him in the closet. Well, he stayed in the closet for 80 years. Of course, the coroner left here and moved on up to Langdon Street. Dallas Burke became the coroner, and she inherited the body that was in the closet. So she put it in the closet for a funeral home. Now, when I was in the 3rd grade, and I went to a wake there at the funeral home, because a classmate's father died, someone told me to open up that closet and look inside. They did that to kids all the time. So we opened it up, or I opened it up, and I saw this thing in there. It looked like a mummy. It had a diaper on it. And I found out it was really hard, really embalmed. And I kind of felt sorry for him because no one ever claimed him. Well, in about the 1990s, 80 years later, a group of businessmen probably put enough money together to give him a proper burial. They buried him in he lived because the picture on Pike Island. But they also called it Sunflower Island at the time. And they had planters, I don't know if you can see them, and they had sunflowers planted right up and down the street. Maybe some farmers down there if they haven't already died. We have a picture of William Lee in our cabinet at the Mineral Springs. He looks kind of green and leathery. So whenever we go back and take a break, you can look in that cabinet and see if William Lee is
Okay, so you open the door and you saw a man standing in 3 feet 2 right here. And they made eye contact. He reached in his pocket to light his pipe. And as he started to light it, just like that, in the flash disappeared. She disappeared too. And as much as she never came back to this building, laughed. And never really got a chance to talk to her. Later, they hired another woman, an older woman named Joan, who was supplementing her Social Security. Come on in. So, the same thing happened to her. Joan, come here. It's about 9 o'clock at night. She opens the door, turns on the light, she sees a man in a 3-piece suit standing there, and they eye contact. Then he turns around and starts walking towards this drug file. And he just walks through it and disappears. Well, it pretty much scares Joan to death that she didn't want to lose her job. So she talked Vicki into moving upstairs to the Rose Room, which is next to my barber shop. And that's when I was able to actually interview her. And quite frankly, she told me that story, and I do not believe she was lying. So, Gus is down here a lot. Sandra's down here, probably underneath these stairs, which is where she fell. That's where the stairs were built. I'm gonna invite everybody now to come on in the school.
Well, there you have it. If you want, you can hit thumbs up or subscribe or that at the Minion Springs Hotel. Also, it's creepy as hell. If you guys want to do it, you gotta do it. See ya.